All right, welcome to another episode of Closers Are Losers. My name is Jeremy Miner. I am the founder of Seventh Level, no longer the chairman. That position was taken from me, but this guy over here, who's now the chairman and CEO, he's like the double cool guy, Matt Ryder, you're working from home today, I see, not even in the office. Good for you.
Every Thursday.
Home base now on every Thursday. I like it. It's getting more decorated back there. I like. Is that a Bears picture? What football picture is that behind you?
That's me. It's me in high school.
That's your high school? Oh, that's right. You lived over in the U.S. for a while.
Yeah.
That's right. Me. I always forgot. You lived in Oregon. There you go. All right. So we got a subject today that we always try to base our shows based on questions we see you guys submit in our free Facebook group, Sales Revolution, or somebody will ask me in on ads, or just keywords that salespeople type into YouTube or Google all the time. And Matt, why don't you tell them what we're going to talk about today?
Just written communication versus verbal communication. Some of the things, like one of the things that I think having access to you on a regular basis is whenever I've got like a B2B client or a lead that's looking for sales training or whatever it is, we're going back and forth. We've done the presentation. They're checking it over, and then from there, maybe don't get a reply as fast as we like. Like I would always ask you, well, how do I reply to this? Here's the context. Here's the email chain. How do I reply to this? Get them back in whilst maintaining status and being able to, like one of the most recent ones was we've already had like 5 calls.
Okay. So this was like
they wanted another call.
Wanted the company to come in and not just train their team, but like bring in like a team for them.
Sales reps. Yeah.
Bring in sales reps done for you type of thing.
Very, very comprehensive approach. Okay. And so we'd already had about 5. They'd even asked to speak to clients. We had them speak to clients. They asked to see results. They're very, they have some investors and a board and stuff like that.
Okay, sure.
And we even have a similar client in a different country in the same niche. So we have proven results. And they were like, okay, let's book another call. And I was like, I sort of said I want to get on a call because I want to close them, but I don't want to just get on calls just to get on calls. So I was like, how do I ensure that we're moving this forward? So I sent it to you and you said, send this. And I believe you said,
what was it? Do you still have the text? I remember I was at Sophie's dance recital or dance practice, and you're like messaging me. You're like, hey, what do I do with this? And I'm like, send me the screenshot. All right, say this. And I typed it out for you.
Yeah. I said, hey, name, just had time to get back to you about you wanting to set up another call. I have a few times available in the next day or two. What is your schedule like? And then it was at the end of it, it was, and if we were able to, yes, I'm open to doing another meeting. We can go through any additional questions you might have. At that point, what do you see as the next step?
Yeah. So what Matt's is saying, so basically Matt handles like these larger clients that we have that typically don't want us necessarily to train their sales team. They want us to bring in salespeople for them, manage those salespeople, do everything where they don't have anything to do with the sales side. It's like we do all the sales management, we bring in the people, we train them, all that stuff, right? So it's a big responsibility that we have there. It's a big thing. So that's why Matt, is involved in that stuff. And so what you're saying is you had 4 or 5 calls with these guys and they just kept delaying, like, oh, I'm too busy. Like, I think they were saying like, oh, we need to talk again. And you're like, what do we need to talk about? And so you were trying to get them back on. They asked you like, hey, can we set up another call? And you're like, well, how do I respond and maintain my status where they don't feel like we're just going to keep doing more calls? Because it's set to the point where like, we don't have to have them as a client. We got lots of clients. Like we don't have to help you type of thing. So I think I put there, I'm open to doing another call. And then you space down. We can go through any additional questions you might have, ... Then you space down again. Now, at that point, what do you see as the next step, though? See, that maintains your status. What do you see as the next step, though? And it also gives you, like, if they're like, well, at that point, I'll still need to talk with my board, or at that point, I need to see if we have the budget for this, or at that point, we need to sit down and think about it. Or, they say, well, at that point, we do business. We see how they respond to that. Now, what did they say word for word?
They said, one question I'm unclear about is so they actually had more questions about how we would interact with your existing sales activities and how we get paid and stuff like that, which had all been kind of going through. So now it's like, okay, I know I can reply to a lot of those concerns via email because like those are like actual concerns that are not sort of emotionally tied. They're very logistical, and having them in writing is actually far more like
it's almost like just a question they have. Like, we don't understand how this works. It's not like, oh, I don't think I have the money, or I want to think it over. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so like from there, we're just kind of addressing the concerns, and they emailed me back about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah. So it maintains your status. It maintains your status as like the expert, the authority, where they don't feel like they can negotiate you down and try to like take advantage of you, like they do with most salespeople, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like that's one of the things that I've learned is one thing that you're particularly good at is being able to follow up with people, because follow up is a chasing activity. Like you are chasing them. Yeah. However, you can't be seen to chase them. Yeah. Because like good sales reps do follow up. I've heard many a time sales rep go, I don't follow up. It's like, well, you don't make any money. Right. Yeah. So, like you have to follow up, but you don't want to be chasing. And so I think like some of those small interactions, like, you know, like one of the ones that you've taught me again, which is like if a client is kind of ghosting you. Yeah. And I actually sent this to a client the other day. It was, hey, I've reached out a few times, but haven't been able to get much back in response to you possibly wanting help with X. Yeah. Right. This will be my final attempt to reach you. This is my number for when you want to talk, speak to then. Yeah. Right. That's like the final. Yeah. You haven't responded. You haven't replied. Yeah. It maintains status. It's very professional.
And you don't need them. Like you don't need them. Like I already got other clients. Like I don't need to help you.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the way it's coming across.
Yeah.
So there's two ways to do that. That's a different situation. I'll give you two different situations. So one situation is, let's say that it could be B2C or B2B, but let's say you had a meeting. Let's say it's just B2C, for example. You had a meeting. They couldn't make a decision. You couldn't get them over the hump or whatever. Then you had a second meeting, but they didn't show up or something like that. That's a scenario that can happen. That could be in B2B as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So you call them, you leave a message, you leave a text or an email, they don't respond. You wait a day or two, you call them again, leave a second message, they don't respond. They keep ghosting you. You can say this, you can email them back. Hey, John, tried to reach you a few times, ... I like the dots. Then you scroll down, but haven't heard back from you. Then you scroll down again. Where should we go from here? Question mark.
Like
it's
that one
that short. Right that short. Yeah, that's that short, that simple. And when I train clients to do that, they're like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if that'll work. And I'm like, well, just try it. 95%.
Oh, it's instant replies. Instantaneous. Yeah. So I send that out all the time to people. And that we have tried to reach, hey, we tried to reach on ... Where should we go from here? Like, look at this, 442, 533 reply.
Yeah. And
right? That guy hadn't replied to me in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Because they feel like you're over with them, like you're just done with them. Like you don't need them. So, we have clients that come back to us in companies all in every industry you can think of. And they're like, man, these clients, like this one particular client ghosted me for 3 months and he responded in 9 minutes from this text. Yeah. Like, well, you're triggering a reaction. When you email, here's the problem with most salespeople. They email back and say, hey, John, I'm just checking in, or hey, John, I'm just following up about our conversation about X and Y and Z. And, we really think we could do a good job for you. We want to partner with you and show we have, and it's like this 3-paragraph thing. And guess what? The person you're trying to contact to looks at about the first 2 sentences. And because they're so busy, they read the first 2 sentences and either delete it or just move on to the next email. It like goes in one ear out the other. It sounds so fluffy and salesy. First of all, never use the word follow-up. That's the F word in sales. You sound like every other salesperson who says the same follow-up or checking in. When you say, I'm just checking in or I'm just following up, the way the prospect interprets that is, oh, you're just trying to call me to get my money. That's how the prospect interprets that. So you want to reword that. So, or it could be like, let's say that it was a lead that, you had kind of a conversation with, it didn't go that well. They didn't purchase or whatever. And now you're getting back to them 2 months later. Instead of saying, hey, I'm just checking in to see how your situation is and blah, 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 blah. Because you sound like everybody else. You might say, hey, John, I know we talked a few months ago and I just had time to get back to you to see where you're at, or something like that. I just had time to get back to you. Implies that you're busy. You have other clients. You don't need them. So you want to you want to avoid that checking in or just following up. It sounds too cliche.
What are your thoughts? Because I know like a lot of people don't do much follow up, and because we train a lot of teams, and when I ask them about referrals and follow ups, a lot of time I go, who asks for referrals regularly? And no one raises their hand, right? And then I go, and who like follows up with their no shows, no sales consistently until they either tell you no or like you've contacted them like 100 times and no one raises their hand.
Yeah.
And so, and the feedback I always get is, well, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, because they
Right?
don't.
So,
When
like,
somebody doesn't know how to do something, they're afraid of doing it because they don't want to
exactly.
be rejected.
Exactly. So what would you say are like your Jeremy Miner's top tips to following up with clients?
Well,
Like,
top tips for following up is like typically, let's say you're an industry where you have outbound leads. So when I say outbound leads, they've responded to some type of ad, maybe on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, or maybe you're an insurance rep and they filled out a mailer and you're responding back. They've requested somebody to call them. They don't know who's calling. They don't know when somebody from your company's calling, but they're the one that have filled out the form. So you're calling them back. So typically, like in any sales career I had, or like any of our clients that we train, I don't train them to call 27 times because then it just looks like you're chasing them, like you're desperate. I train them how to call them probably 4 times. And on each message, I show them what they're leaving on each voicemail. And on that final message, kind of like you did, I have them leave a final message that typically half the time people call back. So that final message might be, hey, John, you had responded to one of our ads a couple of days ago about, possible outside help so that you can XYZ, whatever the end result was. I did try to reach you a few times over the past week. I left about 3 messages, but did not hear back from you. So this will be my final attempt to reach you. So if you want to reach me, here's my number. Like I said, this will be my last attempt to reach you. And if you do that, about half the time, they will call you back. That is so more effective than calling like 37 times over like a month period and like maybe leaving a voicemail, not leaving a voicemail, because then you look like you're chasing them. And they see.
What are your thoughts on voicemails in general?
Voicemails are great if you know how to like what to say in a voicemail to trigger them to call you back.
All right, what would you say in a voicemail to trigger them to call you back?
Well, give me an industry.
Okay, let's do insurance. Let's do final expense insurance. They've filled out a mailer and you're looking to book in a time to go to their home.
Yeah. Hey, John, this is Jeremy Miner with XYZ Company. Looks like you had filled out a form about looking at different quotes for like, I don't want to say life insurance, what do we put on those scripts? I can't remember.
Protection in case something
looks like you had filled out a form on like final expenses for like when you do pass away to protect your family, and you'd asked us to call back, and I just had time to get to you to see if I could help. I'll be available here for a little bit today. You can reach me at this number, 555-655. Like I said, I'll be available here for a little bit today. That's the first message. The reason why I say you had asked us to call you back, you had filled out a form looking at, and I repeat back the end benefit. Let's say if it was life insurance, for example, you'd asked us to fill out a form about looking at like, possible, financial protection for your family for when you do pass away. Yep. And I just had time to get to you before my next appointment to see if we could help. I'll be available here for a little bit today. You can call me at this number. Like I said, I'll be available here for a little bit today. The reason why I say I'll be available here for a little bit today, because it implies that you're busy. You got lots of clients. People are calling you. You're not sitting around waiting on the phone for them to call back. Now, the second call, like if they don't respond back, so I don't call 3 times in the same day and like don't leave a message or leave 3 messages, because that just looks like you're desperate and you're chasing them. Okay. So then the next day, if I haven't heard back 24 hours later, let's say that's Monday, now it's Tuesday. Hey, John, Jeremy Miner, you had responded to one of our ads a couple of days ago about looking at different, at financial protection for family for when you do pass away. I did try to reach you yesterday and I left a voicemail, but didn't hear back. But I'll be available here for a little bit today, maybe around this time and this time. Here's my number. Like I said, I'll be available here for a little bit today. Then the third time, something very similar to that. Hey, I left you a couple messages. I'll be available here for today. And then I leave that final message. I find that the final message, typically about half will call back.
Yeah, will you text that as well, or do you just? Yeah,
I do text it, but a shorter form. Okay. Hey, John. Yeah, so I'll text the same thing. If they have a cell phone, that's even better, because they a lot of times will respond to text. They don't respond to voicemail. Like I don't even listen to my voicemails. And some of these are voicemail, like you could say you won $1 billion. I don't know, because I don't check voicemails. But if they text me, I see that. So with the text message, it's the same thing. Like, hey, John, you responded to an ad yesterday about looking at financial protection for your family for when you do pass away. just had a bit of time to get back to you to see if I could help. I'll be available here for a little bit. And I just copy and paste that. It's the same message. I just put in their name so it doesn't look as generic. So that's all I do. Just 4 messages. And on that final message, half the people call back.
Wow.
Because I'm just done. Like at that time, I'm just done. That's it. Now, that doesn't mean like after those 4 messages that you can't recycle that lead into somebody else a month later. I'm not saying you don't do that. But if you have your same salesperson calling a lead 37 times in like an 18-day period, what's going on in that prospect's mind? Salesperson trying to sell me something, like they just, it just triggers resistance. Looks like you're chasing.
I was trying to bring up I was pricing out like a week in the Mediterranean in 2024 on a boat, right? With the kids and the wife and everything like that. This is an expensive thing.
Yeah.
And and you're only going to be dealing with people who have money.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. Like the crappy communication that they had with me. It was absolutely terrible. It was basically just like, like immediately just going like, hey, here's all the options. Like the first thing they sent me was, hey, here's all your options.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So like I was reaching out and, it's like, and then I was like, oh, hey, I have some questions. And they're like, yeah, what questions do you have? It's like, come on guys, like this is $100,000 sale, right? It's like $100,000 for the week, and it's like, this is, these are people who have money who can deal with this type of thing. And like, not once did they like, and I don't know anything, like I've been to Europe, but I don't know anything about the ports in Europe or what's appropriate or where I should embark or disembark from, or what the best time of year is going to be, or what the best type of boat for my family is going to be. Like you could probably upsell me everything. I don't know. Yeah. And so, but like the level of communication, that initial communication was like, hey, thank you so much for your inquiry. We look forward to, XYZ with you. Here's all the boats that you have that we have available for that time frame.
Nothing.
It's just like, dude, like slim it down. Just slim it down. Like, hey, before I send you the boats, can I ask you a few questions?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Do you mind? We've got a bunch of different options for like different boats, but it all depends on certain things that you're wanting to do. Would it help if I asked a few questions to find out more about what you're wanting to do in the trip and how long you want to be on it? That way I can send you like the information that's going to help you the most. Oh yeah, sure. That would help me for sure.
Yeah. This person WhatsApped me. Hello, Matt. How are you? I'm responding to your yachtcharterfleet.com inquiry regarding a potential yacht charter for 2024. I just emailed you. Thanks. That's on WhatsApp. It's not like, do you have 5 minutes for a quick chat? I can sort of narrow it down for you, make your life a little bit easier. And I just basically gave them all the information. They're like, oh, okay. Here's your selection. Like it was nothing. It's like, dude, that's at least like that person's probably going to make $10,000 commission on that. You know what I mean? Like, or $5,000 commission. Like, what is going on? Like, just ask me a question.
Yeah.
And I think one of the beautiful things about written communication is like, you can be very, very precise with your languaging. Yeah. And so that's why like I like DM setting and I like, selling things over email and text, because like you have the ability to pre-plan, be precise, and sort of, get them down and ask very specific questions and get very, very tidy answers.
Yeah.
Very early on in the piece. And then from there you can transition it into, more of a verbal thing. But with verbal, like, you have to kind of use your tonality and stuff like that. So with written, you can get away with being quite direct.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, okay. So most people just don't know how to follow up. So that's it. Now
they don't know what to say. So they don't know what to say. They don't know what to ask. So they typically get rejected. So what that triggers emotionally for you, the salesperson, is you don't want to get rejected. That's the biggest thing that as a human being, we detest the most is rejection. So if you don't know what to say and ask, and it causes you to get rejected because you haven't have the skill level, then of course you're not going to sit around like, oh, I just want to do follow-up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess like, what are the things that you would not recommend addressing in written form?
I wouldn't say I'm just checking in, and I wouldn't say I'm just following up. Those two things are like cardinal sin 101, because like I said, prospects get emails every single day. I'm just checking in. I'm just following up. So they just associate you with all these other negative experiences they have with salespeople. So they don't look at you differently. And you don't want to be viewed as a salesperson. The moment the prospect feels that you were a salesperson just trying to sell them something is the moment they emotionally shut down. You want to do like, Very early on in my sales career, I learned that I can sell way more if I get the prospect to let their guard down where they feel like I'm not trying to sell them something. I know that sounds kind of weird, but if I can get them to lower their guard where they don't look at me as like a salesperson,
No, it's essential.
They view me more of as like an expert or authority that's going to get them what they want. They just relax and open up, and they don't really have many objections. It's just a different ball game. That's why you can make so much more money.
What are some of the concerns though that people would have that you would not want to handle over written communication?
Well, first of all, you never, like, if a prospect, like, let's say that you're in a B2B or something, and you do like a first call discovery call, you do a second Zoom meeting, and it's like a demo. Let's say you sell SaaS or something, it's a demo, and then you come back in for a third appointment to do a proposal. Well, a lot of salespeople are so crazy, they'll quite literally, let's say they have that appointment at 3, they'll email the proposal to that prospect the night before or 2 hours before, and then they wonder why the prospect doesn't show up. Because the prospect will then go through the proposal, they look at it and they don't quite understand it, so then they have like concerns, and they're like, oh, it's too much, or they don't understand something, so the salesperson's not there to explain it, and then they just get ghosted. I'm like, you never ever email a proposal without going through it with them either on the phone or preferably on Zoom or in person. That's a no-no. Big no-no.
That's a big one.
Big no. You lose tons of sales by just emailing a proposal. Now, even if they ask, like, hey, can you just email the proposal so I can review it before it? Well, I'm probably not going to have it done. I'm probably going to just get it done just a little bit before that because I'm just behind schedule with some other clients. So what I can do is after I go through it, like, I'll email you a copy so you guys have it. Would that help you? Yeah, for sure. So you send the proposal, 8 out of 10 times you're dead.
Okay, that's very, very good advice, I think, for a lot of people, because I think most people are probably sending the proposal and then hopping on a call and wondering why they're not making the sale, or you have to go straight into objection handling. So you don't even get to warm it up. The person's sitting there going, well, I don't want to spend this much money, right? You're like, and then you have to kind of backpedal straight away. You don't get a chance to kind of
the resistance is already up, but now you're going backwards, like having to defend yourself. Whereas if you just went over the proposal and asked some questions even before you got to the pricing, because you remember how you said that you having this problem and that problem, and it's causing you this, and this. So one of the biggest problems that people have when they come to us is the exact same thing you said. They don't know how to do this, which causes them this. So the way we solve that for our clients like you is we do this, and this. And what that means to you is that now that you're able to do this, and this. And you go through all that, a couple pillars of that, and you remind them of the problems they said they have and the consequences, what it's doing to them. Then you go over how your specific product or service solves that problem, and then what that means for them. And then you bring up the price. Well, now they've got this like big thing up here. They're looking at this big result, what they're going to get. They can get to their objectives. And when you bring up the price there after that, they're now looking at that price, but now they've got all of this up here. And I hate that word value, but they've got that, like, oh, my objectives are here. This is going to solve all my problems, and it only costs this. But a lot of times people, especially in larger sales, they'll bring up the price first and then try to build value after that. But the whole time the prospect's thinking like, I don't know if I can afford that. They're not even listening sometimes. Some industries you can get away with bringing up the price first, but some you can't. So I prefer to build that, like going through the problems again, their objectives of where they want to go and why they want to get there. So that gets them into like results-based thinking. And then I bring in, to get the result, they only have to invest this. And that amount seems much cheaper when they're looking at the end result.
Yeah, what's more risky? And if they want to find out more information like this, where can they go?
Yeah, the best place for people to take a look at what we do is one of our free Facebook groups. We'll give them a few nibbles there, little hors d'oeuvres.
Couple of hors d'oeuvres.
Little hors d'oeuvres. Go to salesrevolution.pro, salesrevolution.pro. We'll have a link on there. Right when you join, make sure you check your Facebook Messenger. We'll have someone in our team message you over a free training called the NEPQ 101 mini course. It's like a list of different NEPQ questions you can use for different situations you're into somewhere. And we go, Matt and I, and some of our trainers go live in there 3 or 4 times a week, different Q&As, different trainings. And look, those are nibbles we give you, right? We're not going to give you our virtual training and group training courses for free. Why would we do that? Why would we give away something for free that's going to make you quadruple what you're making now? It's not. Why would we do that, right? What's in it for us? So if you want more advanced training than that, because those are just little nibbles, just message us in the Facebook group or reach out, and then you can talk with one of our team members about the training options we have for your industry if you want to sell 2, 3, 4, 5 times what you are now, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, Matthew.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
See you guys. Bye.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here, right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're gonna help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.